Yo, 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 yo. I don't even know what to say, but welcome to the first installment of the Escapism Podcast featuring Apollo Brown, myself, and my friends. I got a special guest starting this off. One of my guys, good friend of mine, one of the best MCs on this planet, the best writer that you'll ever hear of in your life. I mean, I've done a lot of music with this guy, I've done a lot of traveling with this guy. And yo, he's somebody that I definitely call a friend. Welcome, Skyzoo.
Yeah, peace. What's up, my brother?
What up, man? What's going on with you?
Cool and
You been
cool and
busy
happy
or
to
what?
be here. Yeah?
You been busy or what?
Yeah, running around, ripping and running, traveling, hitting the road and hitting the lab and the road again and family and all that. Everything you used to, you know what I'm saying? We
Oh
two
man,
G's in the pod, man. But everything's been
trying.
good though, man. Congratulations on escapism and everything that's coming with it, everything that you got lined up, and being the first one to crack through on this pod is a blessing, man. I appreciate you throwing me the
Yo,
baton
man,
first. You know what I
it-
mean?
it's
For
it's
the first
crazy
run.
because I have no idea what I'm doing. The people know that. This is my first time ever doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I've been on many podcasts. I've been the guest on 1,000 podcasts, but I've never hosted one. This is my first time ever. So, yo,
Yeah.
bear with me, everybody. I'm learning as I go. But yo, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have
Yeah.
some good guests. But right now, it's about this man right now. Skyzoo, the Skyzoo. Hey, it's been a long time, man. People always want to know how we met, how we got started together. How the album came about. Let's just go back, man. Just how did we meet, man? What's your recollection, bro?
For me, yeah, it was I want to say 2011 in Atlanta at A3C. It might have been like Red Bull or Beat Society. One of them joint might have been Beat Society, and all the producers. I'm sure my bro Illmind was in there, and you was in
Absolutely.
there. Yeah, you was in there going crazy. Don Cannon was there going crazy, and I feel like, was it Bank or maybe Just? Because I feel like,
Bink was there. Just was there.
okay, so they both was,
Yep,
because
they
because
was
I
both
remember
there.
Exhibit C ringing off, and obviously
Yep.
everybody going crazy. So yeah,
Yeah,
Bink,
Knots
Just,
Knots
that's
was
a
in the
wild night,
building.
man.
Who else? Knots and obviously you said Illmind. I
Yep.
mean, it was a crazy night. Like I said, man, I've told you before, man. I felt like I had imposter syndrome that night, man. But but meeting you, because it was crazy because I've done a remix for you beforehand, and I don't want to get into it too far, man. But
Oh man.
I think this was back in like what, oh
Oh six, oh
07, oh
seven,
08,
something
or
crazy.
something like
Yeah.
that. I did a remix for you that never really came to fruition, man. But we'll just leave it right
It
there,
was
man. A
for the
remix.
people. We gonna breeze through it real, but for the people watching, it was a remix contest. I didn't know Apollo Percy at all. I might not have even been super hip yet, to the genius of Apollo. And I don't know if you had put anything out really out at that point. Like the left and all. I don't know if any of that had come out yet, but
No, not yet, not yet.
right. So I wasn't aware. I wasn't familiar with your game, like Shaq would say. But it was the strung out joint through Coal Mine with Matt Diamond and all that. So it was a
Yeah,
remix
yeah,
contest that you wound up submitting and being a part of and all that. And it was so
yeah.
long ago, man. 06, 07. I don't even remember the outcome of it, but the moral of that outcome is that we here now. You know what I
We
mean?
are here now.
And
Yes,
it's
we
it's
are,
a
man.
privilege to be here.
It was a beautiful remix, man. But I'll leave it at that, man. I would definitely use that beat again. Actually, I
Please,
might use that beat
please.
again next time
Post
we do
Tim's up.
something.
Post
Yo,
Tim's
man,
up,
for
man.
real,
Yeah.
for real, man. So when we got together again. I want to say about 2014 or something like that. We went on tour.
2014.
We
Yep.
went on
So
tour. It was 2014.
yeah, so we had for those watching, Apollo and I have the same booking agents as far as overseas and international
Yes, sir.
mind feeders, Timmy and Daniel, shout to them, that's family. Me and Apollo, whether individually or together, we don't go to Europe without them being a part of
Never.
it, signing off on it, being involved, overseeing it, etc. So I had already been to Europe a bunch of times. Apollo had been to Europe a bunch of times already, of course. So Timmy hit me and Torre, our other brother, of course, and 2014, Tor and I was running around with Barrel Brothers. So we were touring that, doing the US and a bunch of different things. And we had done Brazil. You know, it was a bunch of things Tor and I did, and then Timmy hit us and was like, "Yo, you know, let's do this Europe run with Barrel Brothers, but we want to do it with Apollo and with Ugly Heroes. So if
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
do Apollo, Ugly Heroes, we both was like, yeah, let's do that. So we went out. I want to say that was like late summer, early fall. It was like September, and
Yeah, something like that. Yep, yep.
yeah, it was September. So we went out there, and just seeing your movement out there. I tell heads all the time, once you get in this and you really start moving overseas, you always know your pocket. Like you're good everywhere, but you know your pocket. Like for me, my pockets are Johannesburg, South Africa,
Hell
and
yeah.
London in the UK. If you ever
Yep,
come to a
yep.
show in Joburg, it's ridiculous with me. Like I've done crowds with 30,000 people. Shout out to my brother
Mm-hmm.
Osmic out there and all that. You know, we've done crazy Joburg runs. That's home out there. Like I go wild
Mm-hmm.
out there. And
Mm-hmm.
same thing in London. I'm in London. It's always sold out. I go wild out there. Apollo goes wild in Russia. And I remember we was on tour. And we in a hotel in Russia. I don't remember
Oh
what
man.
city, Yekaterinburg or one of them, whatever it
Or
might have
some-
been. And we come downstairs and you see two Dolph Lundgren looking dudes, you know, with the black leather, the black tee, black jeans. And I know that look because I had two Black Panther looking dudes in Joburg the first time I went, waiting for me, like, we're here for Skyzoo, you know? So like we get to Russia and it's like, we're here for the Palo Brown. It was like, okay, yeah, what's up? Like, and Apollo's like, yeah, you know, that's me, whatever. It's like, yeah, we're here to take Apollo Brown to the show. And, all right, and then we all go. And they only cared about Apollo. So me and Tor and Ugly Heroes, we could have been
yeah.
catching all kind of strays if it was happening. They was only covering Apollo, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yo, Russia's crazy, bro.
so we go to the show. We go to the show, man, and I use this as an example for up and comers all the time. I'm like, yo, I've seen in person with my own two eyes, I've seen Apollo do shows playing beats, not rhyming, not playing the trumpet, playing beats, hitting the MP and all that, playing beats. And seeing little girls, little kids, 12 years old with the Clouds vinyl crying like if he was Bieber. This is no exaggeration. This is no putting 100 on 10. This is no stretch. I saw it. And we was in Russia and there was little girls in the front crying, holding Clouds I was like, yo. And at that moment, I was like, we gotta do a record together. You know what I mean? Like, we gotta do a record together. Like, it was
Yo,
we was touring, it was love, we was crew, and I tell people all the time, you want to get to know somebody, tour with them. You know what I mean?
absolutely,
The
bro.
best way to get to know somebody is to tour.
Absolutely, man. I
That'll
totally
show
agree.
you if you could rock. Like you could go to studio, do a couple songs, do a verse. You can even do an album. You go to studio, knock out 12 songs or whatever. Spend 3-4 weeks on the road with somebody and then do it
Yes,
again 3 months later and do it again. That'll let you know who this person is and who you are and if you could rock with
bro.
them. So we was already on the same type of time. You know, Apollo and I have this running joke that we're twin brothers 2 years apart,
Man.
because we're exactly alike. Like we want to do the
Mhm.
show, we want to get some food, we want to catch
Yo,
up on ESPN, look up sneakers, and go to sleep. You know what I'm
that's
saying? Like
it,
that's
man.
it.
That's it, bro.
That's it. We don't want to do much
That's
else.
it,
We
man.
ain't
I
trying
just
to
want
get
to. I want to do the
twisted.
show. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
do this show. I want to get the merch off. Get
Yep.
this money.
Yeah.
I want to go get something to eat.
Yeah.
Go back to the room, and I want to FaceTime my family
And go to
because
sleep.
by that time we about to go to bed. They about to go to bed over here.
Right.
And yo, I want to go shoe shopping.
Yep.
And I want to hit the Carhartt store, and I'm good, man. I'm like,
Right.
yo, just
and that's it. We're not trying to,
I'm straight.
we're not looking for the after hours spot. We're not looking for the shake
Nah,
spot
man.
overseas. We're not looking for joints. None of
Nah,
that.
I'm too old for that, bro.
Do the show, make money on the merch, get something to eat, blah, blah, blah. So I say all that to say, like, we was learning each other really well, even before we knew we would do a record. And,
Absolutely, bro.
I was like, oh, Apollo is family. Like, we're exactly alike. You know what I mean? Like, we
That's
get what it is. We see the bigger picture. We know when to press the button. We know when not to. So we're like twins 2 years apart. But once the Russia shit happened, once I saw them little kids crying, holding the vinyl like he was Bieber and Taylor Swift, I said, yo, we gotta do a record. We gotta do a record. Be like, we gotta do an album
yo.
because I need some of that too.
Look,
I get
man,
that over here. I need, we gotta do a
I'm gonna
record.
get this back to you. I'm gonna get this back to you real quick.
Okay.
When we went down to South Africa
Mm-hmm.
and we hit Mozambique,
Yeah.
and we got off the plane,
Mm-hmm.
and all 30, 40 of those people was in the airport with cameras. They had notepads, they had CDs, they had vinyl, mad CDs, because you know Africa, they like the CDs. Stay on CDs, man.
If you go to Africa, bring your CDs.
CDs, not vinyl, not tapes. They want CDs.
They want CDs.
That's boom. There you go. Yo, and everybody's like, yo, Skyzoo. Where's Skyzoo? Everybody, yo, they want to know. They want to know where Skyzoo's at. Yo, here he come around the corner. They bombing Skyzoo.
Oh man.
Sky's over here getting overwhelmed. Like, yo, what am I doing? What am I? No, hold on. You hold on, because they get aggressive out there. You know they get aggressive out there, bro. No, they grab.
Yeah, it get real.
They grab your arm, your shoulder. Yo, and they don't just grab it, dog. They grab your arm and like muscle grab your arm, bro. It's crazy. Yo, I got manhandled a couple times out there. Pause, man. It was like, yo, but it's all love.
Yeah.
Yo, they love you out there. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy seeing what you do out there.
Thank you.
You know, you've been out there what, like 4 times, 5 times now?
Yeah, 5, 6, something crazy. I've been going out there since 2013. The first time I went out there was early 2013, and almost every year, COVID put a little hit in that for a second, but almost every year, up until then. But it's I tell her, yo, everybody, once you start going overseas, you learn your pockets. You learn, yo,
absolutely.
I could do a whole Europe run, but I know we get to the UK, it's about London. You know what I mean? Like, same thing. I could do runs overseas. Yo, we get to South Africa, I got us. You know what I mean? And then, with you, Russia, where's some of your other pockets, man? I was definitely Berlin.
Berlin. I mean,
Berlin.
That's home away from home right there. So
yeah, you get your pockets. So all y'all watching, you gonna build, and you can't predict it. You can't say, I want Joe Berg to be my pocket. I want Russia. You can't do it. You just gotta work, put the music out, go on tour, and you'll see where the reaction is the craziest at. So anyway,
like you said though, too, you learn people, man, when you go on tour with them.
Yeah.
You learn an artist, you learn a producer, whoever it might be that you go on tour with, DJ, whatever. When you're running around for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, sometimes 7, 8 weeks, yo, that's when you really learn somebody, and a lot of times you gotta tolerate them. If you're not feeling them, you gotta tolerate them, because the show must go on.
What you gonna do? You got,
you know what I'm saying?
Stage,
you gotta get this bread.
Show, and y'all got 2-3 more weeks left.
You got to get this bread, man. But I think I've been lucky enough to run around with, guys like you, Guilty, Pooh, you know what I'm saying, Fillmore, like people that I genuinely like and genuinely call my brother. These are my friends, my family.
Yeah.
And go out with y'all is always like a family reunion, man. We get out, boom. Me and the streets out there, man, and we know where to go, where not to go. And, we get together. We know the food spots, man. We know, me and you been out so many times. I mean, come on, man. We ran Easy Truth in the mud, bro. Like,
we thought that like 5, 6 times in one calendar year. Like, we went
Jesus,
wild,
man. And it's like, and we still touring. You know what I'm saying? We still touring. Yep. And I ain't got no problem with that, because I told people, I'll tour with Sky for the rest of my career, bro. I ain't got no problem with that. You know what I'm saying?
Same here.
But when you can find somebody you can do that with,
that's,
you got lucky, bro. I mean, that's crazy. So, when we so that 14, we got together, we toured, and we got to know each other, man, and hit it off real well. And then we got back together and was like, yo, let's make an album, bro. We need to make this album, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know what you was working on at the time. I know Salvation came out.
That was 09.
That was 09.
Yeah.
I think you had just got done. Did you just done? No, was it before Peddler Themes?
Yeah. So in 2014, we was touring. We toured together. 2015, I dropped music for my friends.
That's what it was. Because I was on that joint.
Yeah, you did things I should have told my friends on this.
That's what it was, and that's what started it.
You played that beat on tour at Soundcheck.
Word.
And I was like, yo, I need that. And you was like, yo, this is just something I was messing around with. It got the 808s. I was like, nah, I need that. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So that was technically the first record we did together. I should have told my friends. And then we started building on doing the record.
That's what started it. Yep. Yeah. And then we started, we was like, yo, man, let's make an album. Let's get together. I told you my whole, I send beats out.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
hopefully MC's right to him,
Yeah.
and then fly you in. We get in the studio together, because as far as I'm concerned, man, that's one of the few things we got left, man, is getting in the studio together
Yeah.
and vibing, man. I want to get
Yeah.
in the studio, vibe out. I want you to see my reaction to things. I want you to see my reaction. I want to see your
Yeah.
reaction, and just vibe out together, man, and just kind of be, organic in the studio.
Yeah.
Just so happens that you don't write
Ahead of
unless you're
time.
in the studio.
Yeah, I don't write
So,
ahead of time, man. It's
and I
funny.
remember when you told me that, man, and we was we were like, yo, all right, everything's all set up, man. Come up here to Detroit, man. We gonna get in the studio,
Take
and
about
he was
3
like,
days
yeah,
to
man, I'm
record
gonna get there and I'm gonna
16
write.
records. And I mean, I love telling this story, man, because so for those watching, the way Apollo works, like he said, he'll send you a bag of beats. You pick the ones you want. You pick 14, whatever it is, and then you got about 3 months to write. And then 3 months after you've gotten the beats, Apollo will book a flight, hotel. You come out to Detroit for like 3 days, and you just mass record. So you could record 4 joints in a day. Blah blah blah. After day 3, you got 12 joints, whatever it may be, and you're pretty much done. And I remember I told
Yeah,
Apollo, I was like, "Yeah, book the hotel for like 2 weeks." And he was like, "What you mean?" I was like, "Yo, because I write everything on the spot. Like, I don't write at home. I don't write on the plane. I write everything on the spot." Apollo was like, "Yo, nah, like, yo, you gonna be out here for like 2 months. The hotel bill is gonna go crazy. We're gonna eat the budget." I said, "Bro, I promise you, book this trip for 2 weeks. We will get this album done A to Z." And he was like, "Nah, man, I don't know. That's kind of crazy. How you gonna write all that music on the spot? Nah, like, yo, you gonna be here for 2, 3 months, man. It's gonna be crazy." I said, "Bro, I promise you, I ain't gonna let you down." Yo, we did the Easy Truth in 9 days, top to bottom. We did the
yeah,
Easy
man,
Truth, 15 records in 9 days. I
yeah,
was doing 2, 3 a days. Yo, the trip was booked for 2 weeks. We had nothing to do. We went to the Motown Museum.
yeah,
We
man.
went to, where else? We did the photo shoot. We
Took
was
you
out
to
there.
a
We had
couple
nothing to do.
shows. Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
We went on a food tour, you know what I mean? Like, yo, we had nothing to do. It was like, yo, your flight ain't for like another 4 days. The album is done. All right, let me show you Detroit. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, my engineer
and
was like, "Yo, what's good, man? You still got a couple more blocks, man." I'm like,
right,
he was like, "Yo, you gonna do those?" I was like, "Yo, we don't need them, bro." Like,
right. The
and
album
I
is
felt
done.
I felt bad because that was his bread, man. And I'm like, I was like, "Yo, but we don't need them, man. We just be
Yeah.
sitting there twiddling our thumbs, bro. We don't
Roll that
we
over,
don't
baby. Roll over
we
minutes.
done,
You know what
man.
I
You know what I'm
mean?
saying? I got all my bounces, I got all my files, I'm good. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And now it's just like, yo, Sky gonna go to the crib, and now it's my turn, man, and I'll take it from here.
Yeah,
But
we did that whole album for everybody who loves it and it's so near and dear to them. We appreciate y'all. We did that record in 9 days, man.
yeah,
I
man, it
had the
was it
beats
was it was
picked,
beautiful.
and I came to Detroit and I was knocking 2, 3 songs out a day, writing. Write a song, record it. Write a song, record it. Write a song, record it. Go to the
Yep.
hotel. And Apollo was just like, yo, I can't believe we really did this shit in less than 2 weeks. A to Z on the spot. I was like, I told you, man, that's my method. Everything I write is on the
I don't
spot. So
understand that though. Like, tell the people why you do that. Why do you write in the studio? When I feel like inspiration is outside of the studio, why do you write in the studio?
So for me, when I'm writing, the excitement that I have when I write, and first off, everybody's method is the right method, right? I don't think there's
True,
no right or
true,
wrong.
true.
So just for everybody watching, don't feel like you got to try to be me or I got to try to be you or whatever. Like everybody rep method is the right method, whatever works for you. So for me, if I'm writing a joint and I get excited and I'm killing, I'm like, oh yeah, nah, this shit crazy. But I'm writing it, on the plane or something, and I'm not gonna be home for 3 days, or the session ain't for 3, 4 days. Now I got to take that excitement and whatever I had, whatever the record is about, that energy that I'm putting into the performance of the record, right? I gotta bottle that up and hope it stays fresh in a bottle for 3, 4 days until I get to the studio, open it, pour it out, hope the soda still fizzle the same way, and perform that record and give you that same excitement again as if I just wrote it. So for me, I've been writing on the spot since 2010. The last album I wrote, write a little bit at home, come to the studio, whatever, was The Salvation. After that, everything from 2010 on, I go to the studio, turn the beat on, start writing, and then I go home. And that's pretty much the gist of it, man. And when I'm working on an album, as long as I get one joint done a day, it's a success. Now
Yeah.
granted, at the same time, I don't force it. we all got dry spots. We all got writer's block moments. If anybody tell you they don't get writer's block, they lying. I don't care who it is. Same thing with producers. If they don't get producer
Oh
block,
man,
beat
I've went
block, they
6 months
lying.
without making a beat, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, absolutely.
it's a being a creative. You're creating from scratch. You're literally taking from dust and building a human. You know what I mean? Like God, it's just like
Yeah, man.
So you're gonna hit those moments. But so if for whatever reason I'm in a little dry spot, I just won't pin that day. I'm like, all right, this ain't coming out the way I wanted to. Let me chill and sit and fall back. But as long as I get one a day when I'm working on an album, I'm good. And
Yeah, yeah.
we was doing 2-3 a days. Man, I think the first day we did 3 records, man. We did One in the Same, we did
Yeah.
Jordans in a Gold Chain, and we did Couple Dollars. That was the first day. Those 3
Yeah.
records.
Yep.
That was the
What
start.
was your favorite joint on that album?
Oh man. Let me think. Definitely I got a handful. I mean, I love them all, but I got a handful. Park the Bentley on the corner.
Beautiful.
Let me see. Payout, the Vibes, Stretch and Bob, and
We oh my God, that was the outcome of that was stupid.
the way you did that, bro, like
Yo.
the way you spliced, the interview where Stretch and Bob was interviewing Nas for Illmatic, and then I'm answering the questions, and then the way you cut that up, man, like it was incredible, man. You really produced. That's the difference between a beat maker and a producer. You really produced the hell out of that song, and obviously the album as a whole. Like the way you put that together, you couldn't tell heads.
Word.
Me and Stretch and Bob wasn't in the room
Yo,
together,
mad people asked me that. They was like, "Yo,
Yeah.
was y'all was on the show?" And I'm like, "Yo, the show don't exist no more,
Right,
bro."
right.
Come
Yeah,
on, man.
it was crazy, man. You killed that.
Yo, they was asking like, "Yo, y'all was on the show, man." Like, "Yo,
Yeah.
Scott really was freestyling on the show?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Ah, man,
Right.
and I just it was dope, the outcome and the fact that it actually tricked people.
Yeah.
And I put my all into that, man, and you did
Yeah,
too,
you
bro. That
ran
was
through
just
that.
like
You
it
ran through that,
was a
man.
beautiful thing, man.
It
I
was just
think
a wild concept I had. Like, yo, what if I want to have one joint where I'm just going off? What if I was on the Stretch and Bobito show? I was like, all right, and then YouTube pulling up interview footage and blah 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 and cutting and splicing, and yeah, man.
I mean,
It was
because for
wild.
some that was an opportunity of a lifetime, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You know,
If we was in '94, yeah, once making the album, I'd have been like, yo, we got to get on Stretch and Bob. Yeah, like
absolutely, bro.
straight up,
Yeah. So my favorite joint on there was probably
I was about to ask you that.
One in the Same.
Yep.
Mainly because that was the first beat I made for the album.
I didn't know
And
that.
yeah, man, that was the first beat I made. So when I made that joint, I had the opener in mind. The Salvation.
Yeah.
So that was the joint that I used to go crazy with that joint. The opener, I used to play that over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
And I loved how it opened an album with that feel. And so I wanted to open our album with that same type of feel, obviously different.
Yeah.
But I wanted to open the album with a feeling that you can't deny.
Yeah.
And One in the Same was the first joint I made for the album.
I didn't know that. That's dope.
And the fact that your idea to put Patty Crash on it,
yeah,
bro,
yeah,
she killed that, bro.
She killed that. Yeah,
she killed that. Like that was, to this day, people ask me about that, man, and I'm just like, yo, that was Sky's idea, man. I didn't even, it didn't even cross my mind, man. And I was like, yo, that's Sky's idea, and to put her on it and what she did on it,
yeah, she black.
It's just like you can't even. Her voice coupled with just her content and
airy,
the delivery, yeah, bro.
And she, because I loved everything she was doing with the Roots, man. Like she was so out of control with them, and I was like, man, I need one of those, and just that airy, breathy feel, and it's like a swag meets painful meets melancholy meets. But I got it figured out. I'm too cool for school. Like her voice embodies all those different weird emotions,
bro.
And her pen is crazy. She wrote that hook. Everybody knows I usually write the hooks, even if somebody else spits it or sings it. I usually write it, but she wrote that hook that she sang or whatever. And she was like, tell me what you got in mind conceptually. And we just was on the phone. I told her a little bit about the record, and then when I sent it, it came back in a couple days, and It's like I'm standing still. I was like, oh gosh, like
Yeah, bro.
she
It's like,
walked all through
yo,
that.
when you sent me that, man, and I plugged it in and I was just like, damn, man,
Yeah,
this fits perfect, man. Like, yo,
we got what we
this
came
that
for.
feel.
We got what we came for.
Absolutely, bro, man. And
Yeah,
when we put that album out, I don't think the people were expecting it. I mean, we worked together a little bit before that, but I don't think the people were expecting it.
mm-hmm.
And I think we led with the lead. The lead was a couple dollars, right? So,
Yeah, yep.
When we led with that, man, and featuring Joel,
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah,
was over, bro.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, we was out of here, bro. That
yeah.
was like,
Oh yeah.
yo, the people loved it. They were like, oh my God, Apollo and Skyzoo, this is crazy. I think we, not your highest, but I think we got to, I want to say 3 on Billboard.
Yeah,
We got to
absolutely.
like 3 on something like that, man.
Absolutely.
And I
Top
know
three, baby. Top
just
three.
recently you got to number 1, which
Yeah.
is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Thank
But
you,
yeah, I
brother.
think we got to number 3 with that, which anything top 10 to me is
Absolutely. In
you
this
know what I'm saying?
climate where we're quote unquote underground artists, independent artists, whatever, Billboard doesn't have, for those watching, Billboard doesn't have a separate lane for,
Mm-hmm.
okay, number 1 in the underground. No. Whether you play in the park or not, you competing with LeBron. You competing with
Absolutely.
KD. You know what I mean? So like, whether you outside in the park at the Ruck or whatever, we're comparing you to Drake as far as sales. We're
Yeah.
comparing you to Kodak Black, 21 Savage, Meg Thee
Yep.
Stallion. We're comparing you to that. Like your stats got to line up to that. We're just talking sales, obviously. So
Yeah.
to come out and be a quote unquote underground independent artist, whatever, with no real radio, no real video, no real TV, whatever, and be top 3, top 5, top 10, number 1, whatever it is. It's a gigantic accomplishment,
Bro.
gigantic accomplishment because fans had to pick between you and Kendrick that week, you and Cole, you and Drake, you and whatever, and it's a gigantic accomplishment. You might drop when Nas dropped. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
might drop
Yeah,
when
bro.
Nas and Hit Boy drop. Then what?
Yeah, man.
So it's real.
Yeah, that was we took off with that record, man, and to this day, people are like, "Yo, when are you and Sky gonna do another album? When are you and Sky gonna do another album?
Yeah.
When y'all gonna do another Easy Truth?
Yeah.
When's another Easy Truth, man? You know what I'm saying? So, and I tell them, me and Sky been talking, and I'm like, yo, me and Sky always talk about it, man. We talk about it.
Yeah.
Obviously, both of us are busy with our respective careers.
Mm-hmm.
But we talk about it, and I think when we decide to, we'll drop whatever we're doing to make it happen.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Again, this goes back to being family.
Yeah.
And when we feel like the time is right, it's gonna happen, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And how did we come up with the title, The Easy Truth?
Man, I was on the train. I was on the train in Brooklyn, and this lady, it was this white lady talking to her son, and he had to be like 10 years old, and he was acting up. And she was kind of getting on his case or whatever. And she was trying to reprimand him, and she said something to him, and she said the easy truth. And I forgot everything she said. Back then I remembered it, but you talking like 8 years ago, so I don't remember all of it. But she said something with the easy truth. She was really getting on him, really busting his ass with, because he was acting up. And, she was like, you got to stop. You don't understand what life is and blah, blah, blah. And she looked like a corporate chick, like a Sex in the City, Samantha chick, power suit on and all that. So she was getting on him. And she was like, you think it's the easy truth or something like that. And I was like, wow. And that's literally how it came, bro. Like, I was like, oh, snap. And she was getting on him. And she didn't even see me sitting across from him on the C train listening to all this. And she was just on da 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 da. She was like, the easy truth. You don't understand the easy truth. And I was like, oh snap, there it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Inspiration come from anywhere. I was like, there it is. That's it. The easy truth. You know what I mean?
No, as soon as you hit me with that, I was like, yep.
Yeah.
I was like, yep, that just sounds right, man. I'm like, yo, I don't know what it means, but it sounds right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It sounded like
well, because the truth don't come easy, man. It never
don't
comes
yeah.
easy.
Yeah. And then,
The part people don't want to hear.
That's the intro, man. You know what I'm saying? Life is hard. That just the truth is never easy.
Right.
when it comes to the person giving the truth, it's a lot of times it can be bad. A lot of times it can be something that the person doesn't want to hear,
Right.
but you got to say it, man. You got to give them the truth, man.
A
It's
lot
not
of
easy.
time it could be a mirror giving you accountability, all that.
Absolutely. Accountability for real.
Yeah, and she was getting on him like in that regard, you know what I mean? The more I think about it. But it's funny, I'm looking at their faces right now in my head. Now that kid's like 18, which is crazy. But it was like 10, 11 years old, and like she was spanking him verbally. She was like on his ass. And yeah, she was like, you gotta understand the easy truth. And I was like, oh, word up. You know what I mean? And so thank you to the lady in the little bag
absolutely,
chair.
man. Thank you, lady, on the train.
Right.
For real, man.
Yep.
Hey, so
That's how it came
what
together.
as far as the reception for the album,
Mhm.
what did you feel? So give me what the reception you got for the album here in the States and the reception you got for the album overseas.
Oh man,
was there a difference?
No, I just think the volume was louder overseas than here, but the volume was still loud. It's like the volume being on a 8 to a 10, as far as how loud the conversation was for it. I remember we did the show in Brooklyn. Everybody came out and it was super dope, and we killed that. We did a crazy press run. We was at Sirius every other day. I remember you came to the Star. You stayed in the Star for about a week or two.
Yeah.
And we was running around together and all that. And we did a crazy press run. We did the listening session, where we played the album in the studio for Heads, and you came up for that and all this, and it was dope, man. Shooting all the videos, and over here in the States, at the crib, it was dope, man. My man Bro, that's top 3 Skyzoo album for him. You know what I mean? Bro, my man Bro, he loved that album. He like, yo, the Easy Truth, son, the Easy Truth. Like, that's top 3 Skyzoo albums for him. But yeah, so the reception here was dope. We did some dope shows here. We toured here, but I knew what the bag was for this album, and it was Europe.
Absolutely.
Because I knew in 2014 when I was like, light switch, we got to make an album. You know what I mean? Like, I knew it was going to be Europe was going to eat this up because they already love you the golden child. I'm over there bubbling, I'm cooking. I done toured over there a bunch of times, and they rocking with me, and I'm selling out whatever. You the golden child over there, so it's going to enhance you even more, and it's going to get me even crazier, and it's just another bag in your Rolodex. So I was just like, yeah, nah, I knew Europe was going to be what it was. Like, I couldn't wait to get to Europe. And yeah, they lost their minds over there, man. We went over there and went wild, and it was great, man. And then bringing you to South Africa, and we ran through South Africa. We was every other day we was on a flight, man. We ran through South Africa, man. Bro. You know what I mean? Like we Cape Town, Mozambique, Joburg, like flying around all over, and that was dope to bring you there because I know you hadn't been there yet, and I had been to Europe. But going to Europe with you was different than just going to Europe. So it was like a different experience in Europe with you, and then bringing you to South Africa and you getting that experience, 30,000 on stage, and Osmic and Ken Zero and all my guys over there and embracing you, and they was already fans of yours. So it was just great, man.
No, that was a good time, man. And touring the album has been a good time, and we still, like I said, we still get demands. Like people want us to rock the album. We going out in December to rock.
Going out for a whole month to do that.
Going out in December for the whole month of December to rock.
Yeah.
Music that we did
8 years ago.
Dog, man. That's crazy, man. And it was beautiful. It's timeless. I think 30 years from now, people could pull that out and be like, yo, this album is amazing. You know what I'm saying? It's timeless music. It's relatable music. And I think that's what we need.
Recently on this tour that I was on with Kweli, we was in San Jose, and the hotel I was staying at was like maybe a 5-minute walk, so like a 30-second drive from Levi Stadium where the 49ers play. And at the hotel, we was getting ready to check out, and they was like, yeah, later tonight, we're already super sold out, we're overbooked, whatever, because the Rolling Stones was coming to town at Levi Stadium next door. And they had all this stuff on the news about it. So I'm checking out, and they showing all this stuff on the news, in the local news or whatever about them. And, how they 80, 81 years old.
Bro.
And they had all these fans getting interviewed. And they were like, I've been to 150 shows. I've been to 150 Rolling Stone shows. And, I've been going to every show since 85. And these dudes is performing the same music from 30, 40, 50 years ago. And that's what it's about.
Man.
And I was talking to Joe about this earlier today from the other guy. Shout out to my man Joe. And we was talking about this earlier, and I was like, hip hop is now at that place, and it had never been at that place before. You
Yeah.
look at rock, jazz, R&B, soul, whatever, all these different genres of music. They're at a place where you got grandparents and great grandparents as the artists and the fans. Hip hop
Yeah.
hadn't gotten there yet. Now
Nah.
hip hop is 50 years old. Yo, you got 70-year-old hip hop fans, because if hip hop is 50 years old, you got people who was 20 years old when hip
Yeah.
hop was first being invented, and
Yo.
now they're 70. You know what I mean? You do the math. Now they 70, and they're still hip hop fans the same way that 80-year-old woman is still a Rolling Stones fan going to the show. Nobody's gonna look at her crazy. So don't look
Yeah,
at us
man.
crazy when we 60 years old performing the Easy Truth,
I'm
and the
saying
crowd is 60, 65-year-olds nodding out. You know what I mean? Like
it's a lot
rocking
of
the
ageism, man,
joint.
in hip hop, man. I don't know why, bro. That's crazy though.
Yeah. Well, it's always been looked at as a young man's game, I think mainly because of the content, because of, what the messages are, even back in the 80s, what the messages have always been, and what the energy is, and the voice of the street, the voice of the youth. But that's rock too, So now we're
Yeah.
getting at a point where we, as the older heads, have to push that, and the younger heads have to help accept that. And even if the younger heads don't accept it, as the older heads, we got to be okay with that.
No doubt.
Which is because we got to be the ones that be like, well, we know they not coming to our show. Ain't no young kids going to a Rolling Stone show. The show
Mm-hmm.
was 50 years old and up, those
Yeah.
fans. You know what I mean? So we got to be okay with that in hip hop, where you can go to a Run DMC show and the crowd is 50 and up, and you can't make them feel bad for being 50 plus, going to a hip hop show with their Adidas tracksuit on, the same way they did with their Rolling Stone stuff, or a Kiss
Yeah.
show with their
Yeah.
makeup. You have to make
Absolutely.
that grandmother feel bad for that.
Yeah.
So we can't do that. We see a 60-year-old with his Run DMC uniform on. Like, we gotta salute that, and that's how this thing is gonna be able to thrive and continue to grow and be
Yeah,
respected.
man. Yo, speaking of fans, bro, we always talk about how we came in at a time where the true fan was still alive and thriving.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? We have
yeah,
true fans. We have true day one fans. I
absolutely.
don't know if a lot of cats coming in the game right now are able to really grasp what that is, man, and really even find that collection or that community of fans that'll support them no matter what they do. I
Yeah,
feel like a lot of people now are fair weather, but
100%.
our fans are not fair weather, dog. We have the last of the non-fair weather fans. Like, we have fans that, amazing, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
that will pretty much support anything that you do without even hearing a single. If your name's on it,
Yep.
whether it's a song, whether it's a movie, whether it's a video game, it doesn't matter what it is. If your name's on it, they will support it, they will buy it, and they
Yeah.
will let you know they supported it and buy it and bought it.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And then we have that, and I feel blessed to have that day one support, man. That's just amazing, bro. I don't think a
Yeah.
lot of these cats I don't think they get that. I don't think they
No,
can.
yeah, it's all a fad now. We looked at it like it was very fad heavy for mainstream artists. Now it's getting fad heavy in the quote unquote niche underground scene as well. You got a lot of these new guys coming out, a lot of these new kids and all that. And it's very niche and emo and, acquired taste and all these other words
Yeah,
that people
yeah.
want to use, and da 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 da. And okay, some of it is valid, and some of it is just junk. But a lot of it is popping today. It's not popping today. You know what I mean? It don't even
Yeah.
last 24 hours.
Yeah,
Whereas, like
man,
you
that's
said,
what
we were able to get in at a time, and I tell people all the time, I'm a product of the blog era. For me personally, if it
absolutely,
wasn't for
bro.
the blogs, I'd have to get up tomorrow and go to work. Like
Mhm.
the blogs did it. The blog
Absolutely.
era, Nah Right, Two Dope Boys on Smash.
Yo, and
you
shout
heard
out
that
to
lyrical
Blogger
lyrics.
House, bro.
Yeah,
Blogger
I,
House.
I would never. I can't give an interview without shouting them out if you talk about how I came up. Like,
Absolutely.
they were a gigantic piece of the puzzle. And it was an era where people believed you had to go, download a record, a Z-Share, media upload, mega upload, whatever, drag it to your iPod from your computer, like drag it in there and drop it, and then walk around all day with your spinning wheel iPod or whatever it was. And that took dedication and work. It wasn't as simple
Yeah.
as clicking a link somebody got you, and whether you like it or not, you
Yep.
keep rolling. Like, it took you being invested in that artist, just like going to the store and getting a CD or a tape. So for us, I tell artists, yo, it's about equity and like having that space in people's minds where you can hit them with the Beyonce, right? Like if you drop tomorrow, if tomorrow you send out a tweet or a post that says, yo, Apollo Brown new album dropping today, yo, they're gonna ring off and go get that. Yo, Apollo
Absolutely.
dropped. Oh, snap. They don't gotta hear a single. They don't need a rollout. It doesn't mean a rollout or a single ain't important. It doesn't mean it's not dope to have and it doesn't play its part because it does. But you don't need that to succeed
Yeah.
because you've already succeeded in the sense of people trust and believe in you. And it's the same thing with me. And I tell heads, look at it like a restaurant. And if you're known for making the best soul food in the world, and people come to you and they tell you, yo, this is where you got to go for soul food. This is it. They trust and believe in you, and you never let them down. If one day they come to your restaurant and you selling tacos, now they don't believe in you no more. They can't trust you. Now they're
Yep.
like, wait a minute. I done told heads when you come to town, yo, when you come to Detroit, you got to go to Apollo spot. When you come to Brooklyn, you got to go to Skyzoo spot, whatever. And then they took heads there, and heads was selling tacos, and they've been bigging it up as the best soul food in the area. They're like, yo, I could have went around the corner and had tacos if I wanted that. I
Yeah.
wanted that tomorrow. What I wanted today was soul food, and y'all let me down. So now I'm weary. Now I don't know if I can come back in this store and get what I need. As long as you don't do that, you'll have a career for as long as you want, man. Straight up and
I
down.
mean, that's because aside from talent, what you and I both have is consistency
Yeah.
and reliability.
Yeah.
Those are two things that
Absolutely.
I think are extremely important in just making music, period.
Yeah.
You know, and if you
Absolutely.
have that, you can keep and retain a fan base for the rest of your career
Yeah.
because they know what to expect. They know what
Absolutely.
they're going to get. Like I said before, they don't have to listen to anything. They don't need a single. They don't
No.
need anything. If your name is on it, because you've been so consistent and so reliable,
Yep. They trust and
they
believe.
they
That's
trust
it.
you and they're going to support it, man. And
Yeah.
yo, big ups to the fans. Yo,
100%.
for real,
100%.
absolutely,
It's all because of y'all, all y'all watching, man. It really is because of y'all. You know, we all the
absolutely.
music we make, myself, Apollo, and anybody who's on our same type of time, the music we make, we know who's buying it, right? Like we
Without a
don't
doubt.
go buy our own record, 50,000 times or whatever it is. Like it's
Yeah,
y'all. So we appreciate y'all through and through. We wouldn't be here without y'all, and that's why we do it the way we do it.
no doubt. Yo, so aside from the easy truth, aside from what me and you have been through, all the touring we've done, just growing closer and bond and knowing each other's families and
Hmm.
your genuine friendship.
Yeah,
I want to ask you some questions, stuff
yeah,
that people might want to know, stuff that I want to know, some genuinely common, some not, just me being inquisitive.
yeah.
So I'm gonna start it off with your love for jazz, bro.
Yeah.
How did that come about, man? People want to know.
Oh man, yeah. My jazz thing is strong, man. So growing up, in Brooklyn, I always was very, very into Spike Lee, still am. Everybody knows I got the record. Spike Lee was my hero, and blah blah blah. Spike is the homie now, and all that dope stuff. And I grew up a Spike Lee kid, like like Spike could do no wrong in my eyes, just like Jadakiss. Jadakiss could do no wrong in my eyes. So like for me, Spike could do no wrong. And Spike, everything is jazz and Brooklyn. So the jazz was already there subconsciously, but I wasn't paying attention as a little 10, 11, 12-year-old kid. And I've been a writer my whole life. Whole life I've been a writer. I've always been about the pen. And I remember being a kid and my dad listening to a lot of jazz. But my dad is
Right.
like, smooth jazz. My dad is like Dave Koz and Ronnie Jordan. Like my dad is into that jazz. Like I
Yeah.
call it like doctor's office jazz. You know what I mean? Like you go to the
Yeah.
doctor's
Yeah.
office and
Najee.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
pops. My pops is into
Yep.
all that. So but he used to always have it on CD 101.9. If you're from New York, you know what I'm talking about. And I would change it to Hot 97. I'm 12 years old, 11 years old, whatever. So he'd be like, yo, man, stop touching the radio. I'll be like, man, I literally used to say, man, this music is stupid. They don't even have words to it. And I was such a writer as a little kid. Everything was about what you're saying, right? Like, what's
Hmm.
the genius saying? What's Ray saying? What's Big and Nas and Jay was saying? What's Mace saying? Like, that was always what a head's saying. So I used to be like, man, this music is stupid. They don't even have words. And he said, one day you're going to learn to appreciate this stupid music. Cool.
Hmm.
Fast forward, college. I'm in college, and for whatever reason, Mo Better Blues is on Showtime or HBO or whatever, and it's Spike, so I'm turning it on. It's my first time really seeing it, right? No little 10-year-old kid should see that. So it's my first time really seeing it at like 19 years old. And for whatever reason, it just connected on a million levels. And with the soundtrack playing, with Bleak Gilliam playing, and everything that Wynton Marsalis and them made for the movie, and then, with the Miles Davis placements and the John Coltrane placements and all, I was done. I was so hooked. I literally went out the first two jazz CDs. It was CDs. The first two jazz CDs I bought was Kinda Blue and A Love Supreme, because those were
Word.
the joints played in the movie. And that
Yeah.
was it. I never looked back. And that was like 2001, maybe. I was like 19, so 2001. And I never looked back, man. And I started collecting jazz vinyl in 2010. I started collecting jazz vinyl. One little crate that I got from the corner store. Yo, Poppy, let me get this crate, man. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead, go. Getting the crate from Poppy at the corner store. And I had my 2, 3 little jazz vinyls. And now I'm looking around it. Now I'm sitting on 1,000 pieces, man. All jazz. I got like 1,000-piece vinyl collection so far, and 95% of it is jazz, and the rest is
All
hip
quality,
hop and
all
R&B.
quality pieces.
Oh yeah, dude. I've had my pop's friends and different people said they in their 60s and all that come in here, and they super jazz heads, and they'll look through and they'll be like, nah, nephew, you got it. I don't know how you got all this, but you got it. Like, I have every Miles Davis album he's ever released, from his
Word.
debut to New Sound all the way up to Doo-Bop. I have, my Coltrane collection, my Horace Silver, my Lee Morgan, my Ahmad Jamal, my it's insane, man. My Art Blakey, my Stanley Turrentine. It's through the roof, man. Like, it's an addiction for everybody watching, and because you got your wax in the
Word.
back.
Absolutely.
It's an addiction, and people think I be making beats. I'm like, nah, this is just for me to listen to. This isn't.
Hmm.
I'm not making beats and all. This is literally me being a collector, just wanting to play jazz records. So
Word.
long story longer, that's how we all came about. So my pops was right, man. He was like, one day you're gonna love this stupid music, and boy, oh boy, I fell 10 feet deep in the pool, man, and can't
Yeah.
swim. You know what I mean? Like,
Man,
I'm there.
it's just grown. It's grown music, bro.
Yeah, and
Grown
my
music, man.
jazz is like straight up 50s, 60s, 70s. It's not smooth jazz. It's not doctor's office jazz. Though I do
Yeah.
respect and admire a lot of that stuff. But my collection is from the 50s to the 70s. You know what I mean? Like, my
Word.
collection is for real. So yeah.
Speaking of Miles Davis, man, like what is it about Miles Davis that sets him apart from the rest, man?
Oh man, for me, the reinvention, how he reinvented himself on every record, very Dilla-esque. You know, uh, every record, every album, every generation, decade, or whatever, he would reinvent his sound and who he was, the cool, and the way he rocked out harmony mute, and made it his own.
Yeah.
Anybody who uses a harmony mute now, you just think of it as the Miles Davis sound. They really should rename the instrument. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a Miles
Yeah.
mute now. So his music, man, just resonates so much, and just amazing, man. To me, like, he just the king of the trumpet. Of course, Clifford Brown, Lee. I love Lee Morgan. Lee Morgan is probably second for me. But yeah, Miles, for me, the king of the trumpet. And yeah, I named my son Miles, so
Absolutely.
yeah, 100%.
That's dope, bro.
Yeah,
So everybody knows that you ghostwrite a little bit.
yeah,
I'm not gonna ask you for who or none of that.
yeah.
But have you ever written anything for anybody else that you wish you would have kept for yourself?
Not whole songs, but lines. Sometimes a line I'll write for somebody, and I'll be like, yo, that one was kind of crazy. I could have kept that one, but it don't bother me because I could do it again,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
it'll be a line. Because when I whip up a song for somebody, it's tailor made. So ghostwriting, okay, so a lot of people ghostwrite, and you can tell who the writer was, or at
Yeah,
least I can, without
yeah,
even knowing the situation. Some situations I know because I'm in the scene, but
yeah,
a lot of situations, you can tell who it is, even if I wasn't privy to what happened. I'll hear a record and be like, "Oh, so and so wrote that. Oh, such and such wrote that." I could tell. But for me, I try to make it where it is very, very hard to tell, because that's the job. That's literally being a ghost. That's literally having a
yeah.
mask on. And you know, I explain it to people in the sense of it's like you own a tailor shop. And if somebody come in there and say, yo, man, I want a yellow suit with purple stripes and brown polka dots, you could be like, I would never wear that shit. But if that's what you want, I got you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's work
yeah,
for
bro.
hire. It's a service. It's like, I would never in my life wear that shit. But if that's what you want, I will
Yeah,
make you the best yellow suit, purple stripe, brown polka dot suit ever. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um, I'll sometimes I gotta write records for people, and it's never something that's against my morals. Like it's never like, yo, I want you to write about. I couldn't even think of any explanations, but I would never do anything against my morals. But am
word.
I gonna say no to writing a strip club record or a trap record or whatever, whatever? Like, nah. At the end of the day, I may not wear that suit that I just described, but they want to wear that suit and they
Yeah,
paying top dollar for it. If they
there you
want to
go.
wear that suit, cool. I'll put you in the best version of that suit possible. So that's how ghostwriting works for me, and it's very tailor made. So I can't write a song for somebody and wish I kept it because it's not my life.
Yeah,
If I write a record, let's say I wrote a record for you, I can't go and spit that as me because it's going to talk about things that only relate to you. It's going to talk about Detroit.
yeah,
It's going to talk about your specific family. It's going to talk about you being a producer. It's going to talk about how you grew up, how I look spitting that. You know what I mean? So, but sometimes there'll be a line or something. I'll be like, ooh, that was a doozy. I gave them a doozy on that.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? But sometimes there'll be a line or two. I'm like, ooh, I could have kept that one. But it's cool. I'll one up it on the next one.
So I think I know. I've been around you for a while, and we've talked and we've talked.
Yeah.
But and I know other you've said this to other people, I'm sure. How did you get your start? Your start, man. You know what I'm saying? Not your first record, not your first album. Before that, your start, man. When it came to loving hip hop, wanting to write, wanting to actually record, make
Yeah.
music. The name Skyzoo. Your
Yeah.
start.
Man. So, Skylar being my name and being my middle name, but the name that everybody uses in my entire life, my parents on down. Um, Skylar or Sky for short. And there was a group in the early mid 80s called Sky, ironically from 15 minutes from my crib. They was from Lafayette Gardens, from LG in Brooklyn, Lafayette Gardens Projects. A group called Sky, and they had a record called Skyzoo, and it's spelled Skyyyzoo. And it was a big disco record. They was like a big disco group. And when that record came out in like the mid '80s or whatever, I'm 4 or 5 years old, and my family used to call me Skyzoo as a nickname, just messing around because of Sky, Skylar, whatever, whatever. So it stuck. So even before I rapped, even before any of that, I'm 4 or 5 years old, and I was little Skyzoo in the house as like a once in a while nickname. And it just stuck. So when I started rhyming years later, I'm 9, 10 years old, starting to rhyme, picking my name, I went with that because that's what was already there, and I knew nobody would have it. It was so unique and it was
Yeah,
so unorthodox. I used to take meetings. I remember being like 21, 22 years old taking meetings, and I remember one meeting in particular. This girl was the A&R up there, and she was running the meeting, and she was really into me, like, yo, you're dope, blah, blah, blah. She was like, well, why don't you change your name? And I was like, what you mean? She was like, why don't you just go by Sky? She was like, you got to look. I could see the girls liking you, blah, 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 blah. Why don't you just go by Sky? And I was like, nah, I'm Skyzoo. She was like, I think you would go so much further as just Sky. Like, Skyzoo is just such a weird name. And I was like, nah, I'm good. In my
yeah, yeah, yeah,
response, I was like, you got a 50 Cent, you got an AZ, you got a Jay-Z, like, like, what are we doing, So,
yeah,
so yeah, I always had to fight for my name, and now it's just Skyzoo. No one bats an eye now, Skyzoo. So how I got started with the rhymes, growing up, in Brooklyn, young kid, born in '82. So now we talking '87, '88, and I'm cognizant of what's going
hmm
on musically. I'm hearing all this stuff. 6 years old, I'm hearing all this stuff coming through the windows. We lived on the 18th floor in the P's, and I'm hearing the kids in the hallway, playing their boom boxes and smoking and shooting dice and blah 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 blah. And you leave the building. Me and my mother leave the building to go to school, and the kids is in the lobby playing da 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 da. And so I was surrounded by hip hop. You look out the window, 18 floors down, and it's hip hop. It's a basketball court right
Yep.
there. It's the Saabs and the Audis and all that with the dope boys parked outside, and it's hip hop blasting. It's Eric B and Rakim, and it's EPMD, and so it was just hip hop surrounded, Public Enemy, whatever, whatever. Then I had young parents. You know, my pops was
Yeah.
20 and my mom's was 19, respectively, when they had me.
Word.
So now they're 26, 27, and they're playing hip hop in the house. Or we in the car and they're playing
Mhm.
NWA and they play, so I was surrounded by it. But what broke through, I'm 9 years old, Video Music Box. If you're from New York, you know what it is. Ralph McDaniels. And this video comes on. Doom, 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 doom. Little girlie, listen to me. Stop giggling and kissing to me. Trying to refrain from playing the childish games. It's Chi Ali, AJ nothing but a
Mhm.
number. And I
Mhm.
was stuck. And I literally have that vinyl framed on my wall in the studio behind me. And
That was the
I was,
one.
yeah, I was stuck. I
That
was
was the
stuck.
one.
When that video came out, I'm playing and I'm watching Video Music Box, and I just looked up and I just stopped for like 3 minutes because at the time, she was like 14, 15. So he wasn't an adult like Eric B and them and Rakim and EPMD, but
Mhm.
he wasn't 7, 8, 9 years old either. He was
Yep.
in the middle. So it's kind of like those guys that you look up to in the park. So all the guys I just described that was in the lobby shooting dice, playing hip hop, wasting lives, whatever, doing whatever, they look like the cool kids, right? They look
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
cool
yeah.
guys. I go to school every day. I come home. These is the guys outside hanging out. And Chi looked like them. He was 14, 15. So I could still aspire to be because he was older, but there also was some sort of like familiarity because he was young.
Absolutely.
He was in that middle ground, and that's what caught me. And he was rhyming, and he was telling the story downtown the village. I see this fly cutie, crazy thick, freshly dipped with the fat doobie. I didn't waste time to kick my game, and I'm just like, oh my god. And I remember when it stopped, I looked at my mother in the kitchen. I said, Ma, that's what I want to do. And I pointed at the TV. I said, that's what I want to do. And she said, then do it. And that was that. So for
Word.
me, it started right away. Like some kids, you play basketball a little bit and you put it down, you mess around. Some kids, every day you in the park and you signing up for little league teams and AAUs and you out there nonstop, you dribbling in the crib. The neighbors can hear you downstairs banging on the ceiling with the broom. That was me with the mic. That was me with
Mhm.
hip hop. It was right away. I mean, I was 10 years old, 11 years old, and I was known as the kid in school who could just freestyle, like just go off the top for the whole lunch period at 11
Yeah.
years old. Like that was me, man. So from day one, it was no games. It was like, this is who I am. This is what I'm gonna
Word.
be, and I ain't stopped.
Yo, let me side note that real quick with something you said, man. How important do you think it is for your parents to be on board and to be your number one supporters?
Extremely. And I'm gonna give you two totally opposite ends of the room, right? Two totally different sides of the room. My mother was all the way with it. Remember, mind you, I got young parents. So if I'm 9, my mother's 28 and my pops is 29. My mother's all the way with it because I'm her baby and whatever I want to do, as long as it's something positive, I believe in you, that type of thing. My pops wasn't with it in the beginning. Now my pops is my biggest fan. At the
Word.
time, my pops wasn't with it. So fast forward, I'm like 13, I'm like 12, 13, 14, and I'm telling my pops what I want to do. And my pops wasn't with it. He was like, man, that's a dream. That's nonsense. It's too hard to pull something like that off. A father's job is to make sure, a parent's job, mother or father, is to make sure your kids don't struggle. Make sure your kids are
Absolutely.
successful, do what they got to do. So at the time, I don't understand at 12, 13 years old, and my pops is like, yo, don't focus on that. That's nonsense. Like, leave that alone. Go to school. My pops wanted me to be a doctor. He wanted me to be a dentist specifically. He wanted me to be a dentist and blah, 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 and turn into a Huxtable dude. And he loved all that. Like, get out of this and become this and whatever, whatever. And you won't have any worries in life. So that was the one thing that we always clashed on when I was a kid, because
Hmm.
I'm like, yo, I do this for real. I do this for real.
Yeah.
And he never, I'm gonna give you another story, and it just plays into the whole thing. Um, he didn't really believe. He had never heard of me because you wasn't 13 years old going in the studio back then. It wasn't nowadays where you could record on your friggin' phone and put it
Yeah.
out. You know what I mean? Like, you had to know somebody, go to a studio. 96, you
Absolutely.
wasn't doing none of that.
Yeah.
Um, so I remember in 98, and I know this is good that we got time because we could really tell stories. I remember in 98, me, my bro, my best friend Adrian, my man Pesos, rest in peace. We was about 15 years old, 16, and we go to the store. Just go to the corner store, And no, it might have been 98, 99. So I don't remember. But we go to the corner store like we do every day. And I see this dude with a bad boy jacket. So I freeze. I'm like, oh my God. Obviously, this is before everything that's going on now. I freeze and I'm like, yo. No, because people are, people
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
yo,
yeah, yeah.
like I grew up in a bad boy neighborhood.
Yeah,
I'm from
yeah, of
St.
course.
James. Like
Of course.
Biggie grew up the block from me. You know what I mean? Like you see my shirt. Like Biggie grew
Of
up
course.
I grew up a block away from Big. My world was bad boy world, like without a doubt,
Absolutely.
So I gotta just put that out there as a preface because it is what it is. So I see this dude with a bad boy jacket and I'm frozen. And I'm just like, yo, go time. Go time. You know what I mean? So I see money paying for his Philly or whatever. And I'm like, yo, you work for Bad Boy? He like, yeah, shorty. I'm like, yo, I rap. Yo, I'm nice. You know what I mean? Like off the cuff, just
Mm-hmm.
go. You know what I mean? So, and then my man, yeah, blah, 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 blah. So he like, word, you know what? Yo, let me hear something. So we go to the car and I never forget, he threw on the murder grand beat. Boom, 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 boom. Boom,
Mm-hmm.
boom. He threw the
Mm-hmm.
instrumental on in his car. He was like, all right, what's up? Let me hear something. And I went silly. I'm dumping. I'm going crazy. And so I'm dumping or whatever. Yo, shorty, you nice, shorty, blah, 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 blah. Yo, give me your number, man. Boom, boom. So like a day or two later, I'm at the park playing ball. I come home and my pops was like, yeah, you got a message from somebody from Bad Boy. I was like, what? He's like, yo, what the hell is that? Like, he's like upset. He's like, what the hell is that? Like, somebody from Bad Boy Records called here looking for you. I was like, I told you I'm nice. Like, I told you, like, you didn't believe me. Like, I told you I really do this. And that was the moment that my pops knew, okay, he's not playing with this. And he ain't doing nothing negative. He not wilding out, running around in the street. I never get a call saying, yo, I'm at the precinct locked up. He's doing something positive.
Yeah.
It ain't my vision for him, but he's not going to stop. He's not going to stop. Clearly, this is who he is. And
Yeah.
clearly, it's something here. If he's 15 getting calls from record labels, clearly it's something here, So that, obviously that didn't pan out. But yeah, they was calling my house and, yo, we want you, what if you made a record like this? Because when you're 15, you from outside, you from around the way, you rhyming about certain things, but it's hard to sell
Yeah.
that, So they was like, yo, I remember they wanted me to make a record like Mace, Get Ready, because that was a record that was just putting out at the
Mm-hmm.
time. And they was like, yo, you think you could do something like that? And I was like, I could do whatever. I could do whatever. I'm 15. I could do whatever. So I think I wrote a record to the Get Ready beat or whatever, and I spit it over the phone to him. Because, again, you couldn't record like that. So I spit it over the phone. And he was like, yeah, shorty, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I could take that to Puff right now. That's what I'm talking about. So, but obviously it didn't go nowhere. It didn't really get further than that. But I used that story as you got to have your family, your parents in your corner, especially when you're starting out as a kid. If you're starting out as an adult, that's different. But me starting out so young, you starting out young, just knowing what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
The beauty of it was I did have parents on opposite ends of the room. One was all the way with it, one was all the way against it.
Yeah.
Because I understand now, like if Miles was like, yo, I want to rhyme and be the next 21 Savage, the next Lil Yachty, whatever these young kids are that's popping, I might be like, all right, that's no knock to them, but I might be like, all right, man, but what we going to do outside of that? Because I know how difficult it is to get in this. I know how
Absolutely,
difficult it
bro.
is to succeed in this.
But we
And
also
that's all my pops.
we come from a era where our parents wanted us to be doctors, lawyers, CEOs, principals, whatever it was.
Absolutely.
And whenever you told them that, yo, I'm an artist, I'm a painter, I'm a sculptor, I make music.
This is a pipe dream. This is
whatever.
A 1
it's
in
a
a million
dream.
Success rate.
Absolutely. And it's like, yo, you'll never make money at that.
Yep.
You'll never make a living. You'll be broke. You'll be living on the streets if you do that. Whatever. You can't make music off of the arts.
Right.
And I try to tell my son that all the time. He's a visual artist. He wants to be a car designer. And all day, every day, man, he draws, whether it's on paper or on the iPad, man. That's all he does. And
That's dope.
I'm taking him to a GM internship tomorrow, man. But
nice.
I tell him like, yo, don't let anybody tell you that you can't make money off the arts, man. That's nonsense, man. And we come from an era where I know they was just looking out for us.
Yeah,
I know they
that's
just
all it
wanted to,
was.
they just wanted to make sure that we did well and
We were
made a
set
good
up.
living for
Yeah,
ourselves. Yeah. So,
yeah.
but that was crazy. And I remember making beats in my bedroom at 16, and my mom just always thought I was making noise, man. Like, what is this
Right,
noise coming out of your room? Like,
right,
what is this?
right.
And never thought that it would turn into what it turned into.
Yeah,
And, like your parents, my parents are now, they wasn't on board at first.
right.
Definitely not. Like I said, we come from that era, but
Yeah,
now they're my biggest supporters. My mom knows about stuff before I do. Yo, did you hear
that's
that
it.
new interview that came out? Whatever, whatever. And
Right,
I'm like, yo, I didn't even know that came out.
right,
Yo, you're in this magazine, blah, blah, blah. I have no idea. I didn't even know, but she
right,
keeps track of everything,
right.
and my dad's right there, and they're my biggest supporters. So that's why I wanted to ask you that, man, because I know cats that yearn to this day. They've been in the industry forever and still yearn for their people to support them, man.
Yeah,
They got
yeah.
people that's still like, yo, when you gonna get a job? Or are you
Right.
still doing that little music thing?
Yo, the music thing. Let me tell you, to all the
Yo,
fans watching,
yo,
never call it the music thing. If the
yeah.
people you're saying it to are people that you care about, the music
Come on,
thing.
man.
Nah, say you still making music, you're still working on music, you're still pursuing music.
Yeah,
The
bro.
best thing to say is you still making music. You still
Yeah.
making music, or you're still in the
Yeah,
music industry.
you
The
doing that little
music
music
thing is
thing?
the most disrespectful. Those three words, the music thing. Oh
Yeah,
my
bro.
gosh,
You still
yo.
doing
When
that
I was
music thing?
younger, I would be ready to hook off on somebody. You running to somebody from high school or something. And this is back before I was doing good. This is when I had a regular job and whatever. How you doing? Yeah, I haven't seen you in forever. So you still doing the music thing? Yo, I'll be ready to hook off. Be the music. I don't know what it is about those three words together. Red flag. Be like
Yeah, man. It's just
alarm. You know what I mean?
it's hater, man. It's
Don't
hater.
call it the, don't call it the music thing. Don't look.
It's yeah.
You still doing the music thing? It's not a thing. Be like it literally is my life. It's
It's
who I am.
disrespectful.
Yeah, I'm still making
Disrespectful,
music.
bro.
I'm still pursuing
And
music.
you
Yes.
want to be like, yo, I make 3 times your salary, bro, doing this
Right.
music thing. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, but you want to keep it respectful, even though they keeping it
Music thing.
disrespectful. The
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
little music thing, man.
Yeah. Oh man, I hated those words, man. I
Yo, it's
don't get them
horrible,
no
bro.
more, thank God, because obviously,
Yo,
we've been successful. But back then,
horrible.
hated that. But
No,
yeah,
I'm
so
glad.
my pops, just to put a bow on that, yeah, my pops and to let the fans know, my pops is my biggest supporter now. And just like you said with your family, he knows everything I got going on.
Yeah,
He's always bragging and talking about me. He was doing his job though. I don't regret one moment of
no
that.
doubt.
When I was a
Absolutely.
kid, of course, I thought he was crazy. I thought he was a hater. I didn't want to hear him. I go in the room and close the door. You know what I mean? But now I have a 6-year-old
Yo,
son. Yes, like I understand all that, and he was doing his job, and I thank him all the time for being on the other end. You need both. I
no
needed
doubt.
my mother to support me and be like, yo, you could do it. And I needed my pops to be like, yo, hold up. I know
You need
this
to
what you
he
want to
got to reel
do.
you in a little bit. Reel
Yeah,
you in a
hold
little
up.
bit.
Like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of people. I'm 14 telling him I'm gonna start a label and I'm gonna have artists. He's like, what are you talking about? Yeah, like, hold
Yo.
on, be like, finish school. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
you need that balance, man. You need that balance.
Yo, so what were your coming up?
Yeah.
Whether it's your 20s, your 30s, probably more early on, man. What were your aspirations outside of music? Like, if it wasn't for hip hop, what would you be doing right now?
I would definitely be a writer of some sort.
Oh,
It was always writing, man. I didn't see anything else happening. It wasn't like, yo, well, maybe I'm a work here, da 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 da. My pops was pushing the dentist thing. So in college, I did go to school for to be a dentist.
mhm.
And it went nowhere fast. You know what I mean? Like it went
Word.
nowhere because I wasn't trying to do that. I was doing it for him. Me and my pops are very close. So I was doing it for him. We
Yeah.
talk about that now. So I'm in college and my first semester I'm kind of double majoring because I'm still English, of course, because I'm a writer. So I'm knocking English out the frame, A plus and blah 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 blah, and psych and sociology and all these other things, math and chemistry and stuff. But then I remember my second year, it was like, yo, you got to start taking chem and bio and all that now. And I remember I took chem and bio at the same time, and both professors said don't do it.
Yeah,
Both
bro.
professors was like, nah, don't do this. Like my chem professor was like, drop bio. My bio professor was like, drop chem. Like, don't do this at the
Yeah.
same
Nah,
time.
you
You're
can't
not
do
gonna
that, bro.
make it. And my pops was all about doing it at the same time. And I told him, I was like, yo, they're both recommending not to do this. And he was just like, I believe in you. You could do it. I believe in you. You know what I mean? And that's him. So I was like, all right, cool. Man, after a week, I never showed up again. Like it was ridiculous. Like, yo, it was so overwhelming. I think after like 2 weeks, I was like, I'm not going back there. You nuts? Like, I'll go to these other classes. I'm not going to Kim and Bio. I'm chill. Like, this is
Yeah,
crazy. Like,
man.
it was insane, man. But so I was supposed to, the path was there to be a dentist, but I knew there was no way I was riding down that road. It just wasn't me. Like, I don't even look like that. It wasn't in my cards, man. So, and I
So I
know
don't
they
even
live,
look like that, man.
yeah, like
I
that,
don't even
and
look
I
like
know
a
they live
dentist, man.
excellent lives, and they making $250,000 a year and all that wonderful stuff, and that's amazing. But like, that's just not what God put me here for.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
another
yeah.
person out there God put to be there, and I can't be in that person's shoes, taking up their spot in their space. But yeah. So, but what I was gonna be outside of this, it was always the pen, man. I mean, I played ball growing up, but everybody played ball. Everybody play ball. I was I was varsity, basketball in high school, but I wasn't being the newspaper and all that. Like my man's
Word.
was that, you know what I mean? My man Foof, my man Fetty, they was in the newspaper, and I was on the team. I was varsity, but they was the cookers, you know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
I was nice in the park. I served heads up in the park, but I knew that wasn't what it was gonna be. It was music, man. I was
Yeah.
rhyming at 9, so by the time I'm 14. Yeah, I'm the nicest dude in any school I go to, any neighborhood I'm in. I was always the best rapper. You know what I mean? High school, college, junior
Yeah.
high. Yo, I'm the nicest. Who won it? You know what I mean? So I was known as,
Hey.
Sky's the one. Like, he's gonna be out of here any day now. Even
Mm-hmm.
at 15, it was like any moment now he's gonna come to school and say he got a record deal. Like that was always the aura and the mystique around me from other people. It
Yeah.
was, yo, he's gonna come to school tomorrow saying I ain't coming back because I got a record deal. That was it. It was that. It was always the music, man.
Word. Word. All right. So what were your non-music related influences? Non-music. No
That,
influences by, with the pen, no well, I mean, it could be with the pen, but just non-music.
but wound up influencing the music, even though they weren't musical.
It
Like,
does it just influences on your life. Period.
okay, my pops for sure, Spike Lee for sure. Let me see. Being a huge sports guy, of course. I grew up in a Black Panther household where my pops wasn't a Panther, but he lived by Panther morals, and
Mm-hmm.
he taught me those. So I grew up in a Panther household. A ton of reading. Books was everything in my house. Black artwork was everything. My family's very pro black, and really my pops was driving that car. And still does, and now it's funny now when I go hard on some of that, he'd be like, yo, I'm like, yo, you made me like this. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
he'll be
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yo, man, you going hard with all that. And I'm like, you made me like you was just like this 20 years ago. He's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of poured too much sauce in the pot. You know what I mean? But very much that. My crib was it's funny, I talk about it in the music. I've talked about it on Easy Truth and different records. My crib was like you could go outside, and outside was Ready to Die, like the big album, right? Like I tell people, Ready to Die was about my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
If you lived up the block, St. James, that whole album is about the neighborhood. So that was
Yeah.
my neighborhood in the time. So that's why it's one of my favorite albums, and it's so near and dear to me because it's about my hood. So outside was that. Outside was everyday struggle. Give me the loot. Friend of mine. Warning. Like that was outside. But when you came in the house, it was Najee. It was Ronnie Jordan. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
we had black art
Yeah.
on the walls, and like it was like if you took you took the first floor of the Huxtable house and put it in the middle of the hood. Like that was my house. So
Mm-hmm.
when I'm in the crib, it's Leroy Campbell paintings on the wall, and we sit together at the dinner table and eat dinner
It's
every night with the
peaceful. It's
TV off.
peaceful.
Exactly.
You know?
So
Yeah.
outside is cooking, baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
why I have this balance, and you can hear it in the music of understanding outside and understanding there's more to life than outside. I understand all of it, and I'm good in any scenario and in any situation, good or bad, left or right. Because like I said, I'm in the house and everything is smooth. And my pops says, yo, how was your day? So what did you da 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 da? Like we always had a rule where we sat at the table together for dinner and the TV was off. And there was
Yeah.
always like CD 101.9 playing in the background real low, or Anita Baker or whatever, while we ate dinner. Me, my pops, my stepmoms, my little brother. Soon as I went outside, it was a different type of time, baby. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Because that
yeah,
was the
yeah,
neighborhood we lived in. You know, you saw all type of actions and activities and all that. So it was a dope balance, and that more than anything shaped me as a writer and as a musician. And I think that shows more than anything in the music. You get
yeah.
that balance.
That's dope, man. No, yeah, no, absolutely, man. I mean, the crib is a huge influence growing up.
Absolutely.
Parents, the people around you, siblings, family,
Yeah.
but just being in the crib, because I think we were in the crib more than anything. You know what I'm
Oh yeah.
saying? And even though we were outside and our era was outside doing stuff and playing and whatever,
Right.
but the crib was that was our sanctuary. That was where the
Yeah.
peace was. That was our safe
Yeah.
haven. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So there's a lot of influence that comes from the crib.
I grew up with a
What's
saying. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I grew up as a saying my pops had, because my pops used to run the street heavy and then he reformed and whatever, whatever. But he always had this saying from being somebody who was really, really, really in the street. And he was like, man, all you want to do is make it home, because home
Yeah,
is
bro.
supposed to be the
That's
most
it.
sacred, the most peaceful, and the safest place. He's like, when I
Absolutely.
was outside running around doing this and that, ripping and running and getting into shit with people and wilding out and sticking kids up, you just want to make it home. Police
Yeah,
chasing you, rival crews chasing you, it's going down, you going back and forth. You just want to make it home. All you want to do is make
absolutely.
it home. Get on the train, get off, blah, blah, blah. Once you get in that door and lock it, you good. Like, so it just,
Yeah,
I bring that up because it's a testament to your point. Home
yeah,
is supposed to be the safest place, and it's a place that you never supposed to feel afraid or anything
absolutely.
in your home, or feel like you can't be yourself in your home. He used to always say, yo, you just want to get home. That's it. Like,
Yep, yep.
you can breathe and chill and sleep good and relax once you made it home. You in the street, blah, 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 blah. You just want to get home, you know?
Yeah, bro. Yo, so if you had to, let's just say somebody's never heard of you. They don't know who Skyzoo is. They never heard your material, never heard an album. If you had to introduce your career to somebody using only one song in your catalog, what would it be?
Wow. That is
And,
extremely
and then
difficult,
that
man.
song summed up your career, summed up who you were. It basically gave them, all right, this is what to expect from here on forth. Like this is who this person is. This is who this MC is.
Wow. One song.
One song in your catalog.
That's incredibly tough. I would say, mm, I might say Everybody's Fine off of In Celebration of Us. I might say
Okay.
Everybody's Fine.
Okay. Why is
Yeah,
that?
record, huh?
Why is that?
So Everybody's Fine, you know, In Celebration of Us is an album where I said to myself, I want to make the blackest album possible
Mm-hmm.
in the most honest way.
Yep.
I wanted to make an album that depicted the entire story of being black in America in this day and age, and
Mm-hmm.
where we came from, where we are, and where we're going, and the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the stuff that was done to us, the stuff that we did ourselves, and the stuff that we kind of brought on ourselves, if we being honest, and then the fact that even that stuff is a product of stuff that was done to us. So
Mm-hmm.
even when it's our fault, it's still not, right? Like
Yeah,
Kenny
yeah.
Barris has a thing where, like, on that show, Black AF, Black as Fuck, where he says, like, every episode is titled something something because of slavery. Every episode. And I
Yeah.
thought that was genius. It was funny and it was genius. It's like so and so, like the name of each episode, so and so and so because of slavery, such and such and
Mm-hmm.
such still because of slavery. You know, so like it's the same thing where even the stuff that we've done and brought on ourselves and we're the reason for it, we're still not the reason for it if you really dig deep enough. So I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
make an album that just highlighted everything, the good and bad. And Everybody's Fine is the intro to that record. And it just explains everything in regards to that. It just summarizes everything and then breaks it down song by song as the album plays out. But
Yeah.
that song is kind of like the cliff notes for the album for when you get to hear the rest of it. And it just tells you like who I am, where I'm from, what I'm about, why things are the way they are, why I care at all, why I'm interested in that at all, why I'm invested in speaking on it and trying to figure it out and break it down at all.
Yeah.
And and it's a record where I had this idea when I wrote it. I wrote it and recorded it, and when I was done recording it, I told my man Lorenzo, who was engineering the album, I said, "Yo, loop the beat up more, but kill the drums. I'm gonna spit the entire song again with no drums, A to Z. So if you didn't hear me the first time, you're gonna hear it now. So it's like a 6-minute song because I
Yeah.
spit the entire record twice. The first time I rhyme it, and the second time I spit it with no drums, so it almost sounds like poetry or spoken word to really hammer the point home. To
Yeah.
really just, I'm gonna tell you this entire song, this entire 80 bar verse. I'm gonna say it again so that you really get what the hell I'm talking about. So if
Dope.
I had, it's an incredibly difficult thing, but if I had to pick one, it probably would be Everybody's Fine. And that could change tomorrow if you was to ask me this
Yeah.
again, but I
Yeah.
think right now it probably would be Everybody's Fine.
Dope. Dope. So what is the most impactful moment in your career? Like what was your
Wow.
boom moment? You know, that break moment, that boom, like I'm here.
Wow. It's a lot of those too. A lot of those too. I would say having a record in stores, which was
Okay. Yeah, that was big. That's big,
yeah.
bro.
You know what
That's
I mean?
big.
Like
Yo, I
having a
remember
record
that.
in
That's big,
stores.
man.
Yeah, Cloud9,
Or
which was an EP.
or sitting at the stoplight and somebody pull up next to you rocking your shit
Yeah, that.
and they don't know that you sitting there.
And you know
That
what
right
too?
there,
Getting stopped
crazy.
for the first time, signing an
Yeah.
autograph. The
Yep.
first time, there's a bunch of them. The first time somebody bought a verse off me, like I remember
Mm-hmm.
somebody hitting me on MySpace. This is like '06, so Cloud9 is out and it's bubbling and everything is good. And somebody hit me on MySpace and was like, "Yo, man, I'd love to collab with you, man. You know, I got $200." And I was like, "Absolutely, send it." You know what I mean? So
Yo,
like, I'm
yo,
24 years old. I just got fired from my last job. I got an EP in stores with Jay-Z's new favorite producer. Yo, send that. You want to pay me $200 to write a
bro,
verse? Send
bro.
that. You know what I mean? So that was one of those I'm here moments.
Yeah.
Being in Double XL for the first time, show and prove.
Same. Yep.
And then I guess moving on, let me see. Spike Lee, building with Spike. And I've mentioned him like twice in this interview already, man. The first time, working with Jadakiss, and that was
Word.
years into my
Yeah.
career. At that
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
I was already moving. I already have been touring and traveling and making money and investing and buying stuff. Like I'm already out of here
Yeah.
and working with Kiss because I was such and still am such a Locks fan, man.
Oh
And
man, come on, man.
I tell
Kissing.
heads all the time, those are my superheroes, man. Every year I text Jadakiss on his birthday, and I'm like, "Yo, happy birthday, G. Yo, you still my superhero, man." And he'll always write back,
Yo, I
"LOL,
do the
thank you,
same
bro. I
thing with
appreciate
Preem,
that."
bro.
Yeah. I always text every year on Jada's birthday. I say, "Yo, you still my superhero, man." You know what I mean? And he'll always write back, "Yo, you crazy, man. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you." That was, thought Jadakiss was Jesus. I just wanted to be the Locks. Like that was my line. You know what I mean? So like working with Kiss was everything. It was like if 13-year-old me knew what was happening right now, he would lose it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
bro.
you couldn't
Absolutely,
tell
man.
me nothing about Jason Phillips. And still
Yeah,
can't.
man.
You know what I mean?
Yo, I got a receipt on my wall over there of the first time I ever sold a beat. It's a written receipt. And it's
Wow,
all
that's cool.
it's scribbled on a piece of paper. It
Yeah.
was in person. First time I ever sold beats. I sold 6 beats for $300.
Wow. So it was a so you wrote out like a kind of like a contract, like a receipt, like
Yeah,
I
it was
gave
a
you these beats,
receipt.
blah 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 blah.
Yep,
That's dope.
exactly, bro.
That's dope.
And it was all written out. I had no idea what I was doing, where I was going. This was
Yeah, that's
back
so
in,
cool. You made heads write that shit on a
I
piece
think
of
this
paper.
was in
That's cool.
2002.
Okay.
2002. And that was the first time I ever sold some beats. I didn't know what to sell beats for. I was just like, I don't even know. But I knew I needed $300 for something.
Absolutely.
And my man's was like, yo, we'll take these 6. And I'm like, bet, give me $300. And he was like, yeah, all right. And yo, he gave me $300, man. He took 6 beats, man. I was like, yo, that's the first
an amazing
time.
Story, bro.
I found that receipt in an old coat years later, bro. Years later. Literally, it was an old coat. I want to say it was like a NASCAR jacket or something.
Yeah.
Yo, it was like an old Good Wrench NASCAR jacket.
One of them racing colorful joints, yeah.
Absolutely. I still got it, man. I won't get rid of it. Nice. But I went in the pocket and I pulled out this piece of paper and it was folded up and I unfolded it.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, this is crazy. And I think I found it again, this was like 2002. I think I found it in, I want to say like 2010 or 11 or something like that.
and you framed it.
maybe even 12. But I was on the verge at that time, and I was like, damn, this is crazy.
And
And
you
then I
framed
kept
it and
it,
hung
and
it
then
up
I
and all
ended up
that.
framing it later on, and I put that shit on my wall. And it's it just kind of reminds me, man, where I came from. So
that's amazing. That's such an awesome story, bro.
No,
I
when
never
you
knew
mentioned
That's
that,
crazy.
selling verses for $200, man, and
Right.
cats actually wanted to buy a verse from you, and you was like, yo,
that was the big thing. It was like he offered it. Like I didn't say, yo, how much? Because my mind wasn't even thinking you can sell a verse. You're at that point. I didn't know I was at that point. I just got fired from the job. Blah 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 blah. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm getting $150 a week unemployment. I don't know what the hell is going on. All I know is I got this Ninth Wonder project out, and I'm trying to run this shit through the ground and blow and make this thing go.
Yeah.
The kid hits me on MySpace and is like, yo, man, I love the stuff you did with Ninth. Yo, man, I'd love to get you on the record, man. And I don't even remember who this kid is, but yo, man, I'd love to get you on the record and I got $200 for you if that's cool. Hell yeah, that's cool. Like,
yo,
send that.
MC, where you at, man? I want to know who you are, bro.
Yeah, yo,
If
please.
you ever come across this, man, I want to know who you are.
That'll be dope.
That'd be dope.
Man.
Absolutely,
shout
man.
to you, bro. Shout to you out there who did that. That was dope. I was like, yeah. So then that became my rate. I was like, all right, $200. Like that became my rate.
Boom.
For like a month, it was 2, then it became 3, and so it was real.
So what's your favorite album of the 90s?
Illmatic, without a doubt.
Okay, I mean that's easy. Same.
To me, Illmatic.
Well, I'm not going to say same. I'm not going to say same. I mean, Illmatic is definitely arguably the best album of all time.
To me, that's what I was saying. To me, Illmatic is the greatest hip hop album of all time.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. I mean, there's a couple albums in the 90s that were a little more impactful to me, but that album, I mean, I wouldn't shun you if you said, yo, Illmatic's the best album of all time.
Yeah,
that's easy, bro. So
I absolutely think it is. Yeah,
without a doubt. Okay, I got a question for you. Yeah. So, what beat or song is better? I'm gonna give you three. I'm gonna give you 3 beats, 3 songs.
Okay,
these are from the early 2000s.
Okay,
Fabulous Breathe. Jay-Z Public Service Announcement. Or Freeway What We Do.
I'm gonna go.
All happen to be produced by Just
Blaze. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. Public service announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because they all happen in 03, 04.
Yeah.
Why PSA?
For me, PSA. It's anthemic. It has this arrival thing to it, and for as hip hop as it is, it transcends everywhere. I mean, you see it in the Google commercial right now and all that. Like, sonically, and this is, forget the success and the performance of it, right? Because Jay didn't even shoot a video for it, because at that point, it was over. He was retired.
Yeah.
Just sonically, it transcends on so many levels. Like, that beat can do so many different things while being unapologetically hip-hop. And it's just a phenomenon of a beat. Like, and all 3 of them are. Just Blaze is one of the greatest. But
crazy, bro. Crazy.
When I heard that beat, I love the build, the boom, boom, boom. And I know the original sample being a final guy in the jazz head. And I just was like, oh my gosh, like the way he put this together. And then, even like just doing the vocals, the skit, and making his voice. Like, I always thought that was like, some skit they got off YouTube with some woman at a rally, like the way he just pitched his voice up, and all these things of being a producer, all these moments of being a producer and really producing the record. Lie to you, Jack. Thing ain't lie. Like, it's really, really a perfect record. It's a record that, as we've seen, he has to perform it every show.
Absolutely.
Like, no matter what, like, no matter who you are, you have those records. But then you feel like when you get to a certain point, you don't have to have those records. Nah, you do. Even Beyonce, there's certain records she has to perform.
You gotta have those records. Yeah.
So with Jay, he has to perform that record every single night because it's too monumental and transcendent. And I think Breathe and What We Do are those records respectively for Fab and
for those artists.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely.
A doubt. Incredible records. But PSA is that work for sure.
I remember when Breathe came out, man, and when that beat, oh my God, man, when that beat dropped, I was just like, Jesus Christ, man, like what? That was my favorite beat of 2004. I was just like, you got to be kidding me right now,
Right.
man. I'm just like,
Right.
yo, Just Blaze is on one, man.
Yeah. Nah, he's a wild individual with
And
that,
then
man.
what
Like,
we do, man, what we do is just
yeah.
like, I don't know how many
Incredible.
times in my
Incredible
life I
record.
played that song.
Yo, I mean, those are three classics. Three classics. And I
Absolutely.
think it's ill that the irony of they're all by the same producer, but
Absolutely.
three classics, and it just goes to show the testament of his genius and all that. And yeah, but PSA is special. Like, it's one of them joints, it tugs at you in so many different directions, whether it's
Yeah.
energetic, whether it's a feeling of get back, whether it's a feeling of I've already gotten back and I've won, rebounding and bounce. Like, it does so many things, man. That sample and them drums, and yeah, it's a phenomenal record. But yeah.
If I ask three people that same question, I'm gonna get three different answers, bro. So
And that's the beauty of it.
you
That's
know,
the
that's
beauty of hip
definitely.
hop. That's the
But
beauty
I
of those
mean, hip
records,
hop
and
wins, Just
that's the
Blaze
beauty of
wins.
Genius Adjust. Yeah.
You know, absolutely, bro. So yo, what is your guilty pleasure in hip hop or rap? Like, who do you listen to that your particular fan base may not approve of? I ain't trying to put you on the spot. I don't want to.
I'll go there.
Yo, do it.
Yeah. Jeezy for a long time, and I'm still a Jeezy guy, but I don't think Jeezy is looked at as a guilty pleasure anymore. I think Jeezy has crept through with quote unquote hip hop heads, underground heads, but in the beginning, like Trap or Die Volume 1, and I remember my cousin Bezo, rest in peace, he was putting me on to Jeezy back in '05 when boom, boom, clap, when all that was happening and Soul Survived, and I was very anti it. I was very anti it. I was like, yo, man, he ain't nice, he ain't rhyming, you know what I mean? You know, because I'm an MC and I'm lyrical and blah, 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 and I'm big T.I. fan. I'm like, it ain't because he's from the South, T.I. from Atlanta, T.I. is dumb nice. Like, you know, I think trap music is one of the dopest albums the South has ever produced. Trap music is insane. So I'm like, yo, it ain't, because people, oh man, it's because he's from the South. Nah, I'm like, yo, look at T.I., you know what I mean? So, I wasn't into it at first. And my cousin was like, yo, how you don't get it, man? You from outside, you understand everything he talking about. How you don't get it? I'm like, I get it, but for me, it was about where's the lyricism, right? And then we went to the show, Power 105. It was their first like powerhouse or whatever. And it was the first time Jay and Nas came together on stage after they was beefing. So it was a huge deal. Like, I was at that show. It was in New Jersey. And Jeezy came out because Jeezy was early on, so Jeezy was one of the openers. And when that boom boom clap came, boom boom clap, boom boom clap. When I tell you the floor shook, I got it. I said, I get it. And then the next day I went and bought the CD from Virgin Megastore, 42nd, and I was like, I get it. And I listened to the whole joint. I was like, yeah, I get it. He ain't the nicest, he ain't about, but I get it. Now, Jeezy pen go crazy. He doing this thing, you know, whatever. And I'm a Jeezy guy. So I say formerly Jeezy because that's not a guilty pleasure no more. I would say Kenzo B. Kenzo B is this girl. She's in the drill movement in New York. She's from the Bronx. She signed to Chinks Montana, to French Montana. Rest in peace, my brother Chinks. I'm in that same mode. She signed to French, and she nice, but it's drill. You know what I mean? So if you know the drill scene, it's like I got
I'm all about
options.
Chicago drill. So
Like New York drill is like an offspring of Chicago drill, and you know, it's just wild. It's just wild. It's not nothing you would want your kids listening to. And but Kenzo could rap. She a young, like 19-year-old girl, and she could rap, but it's all wildin'. It's all, you know, shoot a op, cross the street, blow the clip, like it's all just bad. But she could rap though. And Kenzo B for sure, without a doubt.
Okay. So I'm gonna get a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
What is more important to you, lasting success or lasting significance? Success or significance?
Wow. They're so similar, man, because I think
but so different.
Yeah, but for me, when I hear them, I'm thinking if I'm significant, then I'm successful. You know, if I'm right. So success is in the eye of the beholder. So for me, if people care about what I did, if people care, if I'm gone and I'm retired or I'm no longer here, whatever, and people care about what I did and they look to it and they look it up and they go to it and they treat it the way we treat other things in that realm, To me, that was a success. So that's where the similarities are for me, but they are absolutely different. I would say, as somebody who grew up on so many morals and values, I would say significance, because if they're separate, then that means it's just, yo, is it just about the paper, or
Yeah.
is it about what you did, et cetera, et cetera? So if we're separating them, then that means you're looking at them in those lights and from those points of view. And at that point, I would say significance, because there's a lot of ways to go out there and make money, but there's not too many ways to really touch people and impact people
Make an impact. Yeah.
forever and
Yeah.
have that connection and that lasting impression forever with the art and the craft that you've been given. And this music, man, it's a responsibility. It's dead up a responsibility. Heavy is the head. God didn't give you this talent just to be able to rhyme about whatever. And as much as, like I said, I like Kenzo B as a guilty pleasure, but like, God didn't give us this talent to just be on a certain type of time, right? We're supposed to be able to speak for people, be a voice, be an outlet. And I tell people all the time, music is two things. It's one of two things. You either relate to it or escape to it. And that's why it's ill. You got escapism.
There you
You
go.
either
There you
relate
go.
to it or escape to it.
Yep.
And you got the music that you escape to. Yo, it's Friday night. I had a long week. I want to go party. I want to go drink, girls, whatever, whatever, whatever. I want to go live it up. I want to pretend to be Rick Ross. I want to pretend to be Jay-Z. I want to
Yeah.
pretend to be Jeezy and waste all the money I just made on my paycheck because it makes me feel good. That's the escape. Then the relate is, yo, I'm going through the same thing. I feel that. Somebody else is in my shoes. I get that. I'm not alone out here,
Yeah.
and that's the relatability, and that's artists like myself and so many others that do what we do, So
Yeah. Yeah.
if I had to pick, if we're splitting them, it would be the significance, because I think that is a direct reflection of its own success.
I've definitely gotten different answers. I've definitely gotten, asked multiple people that same question just in life, man, talking to friends or talking to family or, whatever. And I've gotten different responses, man. But it's always been a question of mine. What do you think is more important, success or significance, man? So, no, absolutely. And there's really, there's no wrong answer. I mean, it's how you feel. So,
Right.
What do you think is the key to longevity when it comes to music?
Oh, we talked about it earlier. Consistency.
Yeah.
Without
Okay.
a doubt.
There we go.
Without a doubt. If
Absolutely.
you just to hammer it home again, if you make music and you create and people can depend on it to be of a certain level,
Yeah.
and they know when I go to this restaurant, I know the menu and I know the recipes are the same and I know they're going to kill it every time. I don't got to worry about anything being changed up or being hit with any surprises. You will literally have a career as long as you want.
For the rest of your life, bro.
Until you decide to stop, you'll be good.
Absolutely, man. And I agree. Consistency and reliability, man. Those are that will keep you here. That will keep you here. That will keep your fan base.
100%.
Absolutely.
And
maintain.
How you work it is how you work it, but they will be there waiting for you.
Without a doubt. So, what do you want to be remembered for? Like your lasting impression in music and in life, man.
In music, I want to be remembered for my lyricism, my storytelling, somebody who put out what people feel is a flawless catalog, no misses, all hits. The music that lasts. The way I talk about Purple Tape and Ready to Die and Reasonable Doubt and Blueprint and Illmatic and Liquid Swords is how I want people to talk about The Easy Truth, The Celebration of Us, All the Brilliant Things, The Mind of a Saint, Milestones, et cetera, et cetera. That's the music. Outside of that, multiple things. Being a stand-up individual, being solid, being a man of my word, being true and honest, and being a good person. I pride myself on being a good person,
Absolutely.
not doing people dirty. If anybody tells you I did them dirty, especially in some business, like in music, they lying. I don't care who it is. If anybody tell you I rocked them, I cheated them, I did them wrong, I didn't give them what they deserve, they lying. Please tell them to show you that proof and tell the whole story. I've taken shorts on my end to help other people out and put people in position, let people win, help people win, get people, like I've done it through and through. So For me, it's about being a solid individual, a stand-up individual, and being a hell of a dad. You know, my most important job is fatherhood and being a hell of a dad and it working. I pray every day that I do the right things as a dad, and I pray every day that they work. You know,
Work.
that they are
Absolutely.
successful, that those
Absolutely.
methods are successful.
Yeah, man. So I'm going to end this with one of the same questions that people ask all the time.
Yeah.
And it feels like everybody ends this the same way. You know, as many podcasts and whatever else that we always been on. So what are some insights and advice that you would give artists coming up? But I want to switch it up just a little bit.
Okay.
The advice and the insights that you would give the artists coming up. But what is some advice and insights that you would give some of the legends out there?
That's dope.
Because
that's dope.
I've seen,
No one's ever asked that.
You know what I'm saying? I've seen some legends that need some advice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And how to treat people, and how to come at people and just how to move around in this industry the right way, the clean way.
In
you know what I'm saying?
But too, this new version of it.
Absolutely, man. So what would you do? What kind of insight would you give these people, young artists coming up?
Yeah.
And also the older artists, the legend status artists?
Well, the young artists coming up, the first thing I would tell them to do is subscribe to the Escapism Podcast. You know what I mean?
Hey, do it.
Nah, I would say know that this is a business. Treat it as such because you will be treated as such. But also, you got to have that love because there's a lot of moments in this game that'll make you not want to do it anymore. And the music is what's going to push you through to keep doing it in spite of those moments. Like I remember watching this, I don't know if it was a commercial or some promo thing they had with Carmelo Anthony, and when he was with the Knicks, and he was just like, you know, for somebody, you know, from New York and love New York and play for the Knicks, he was like, if you don't have those moments in New York where you're like, yo, man, fuck this place, man, you ain't really a real New Yorker. You know what I mean? Like, bottom line. And the same thing go for me, being born and raised in New York. There's times where I be, yo, fuck this place, man. And then in a few minutes, you get over it. You're like, nah, I was bugging. Yeah. That means you really in New York if you feel like that, right? So it's the same thing where there's going to be moments in the game where you're like, yo, fuck this shit. I ain't doing this no more. There's going to be so much that happens to you. People telling you they're going to do things that they don't do. People saying they got you when they don't. People promising you things that they can't deliver or that they don't feel like delivering. I've had record deals on the table and disappear. I've had, you know, beats promised, verses, all type of stuff, man. We could sit here for another 3 hours. So there's going to be moments that make you feel like, yeah, I don't want to do this no more. But if you love the music, if you love the art and the craft of what you do, those moments will push you through. But after you get a good night's sleep, you'll be like, yeah, I was bugging. I'm still here. Yeah. All you got to do is sleep it off and get back to real life a little bit, play 2K, get with your woman, whatever it is, right? And then like the next day, all right, I'm back. But you are going to have those moments. If you don't love the music and you're only in it for the money, then it's easy to tap out. It's like, I'm not going to do this no more. I'm going to do something else. Yeah. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to hit the block. I'm going to start this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to play with crypto, whatever it is. Like, you'll do other things. But if you love the music, it'll keep you coming back to push through and fight through all that.
Absolutely.
As far as the OGs, that was an excellent question. As far as the OGs, I would say it's a lot of things. One, listen to the youngins coming up because you were a youngin once. The same way the youngins need to listen to the OGs because, you know, you're going to be an OG at some point. You're not going to be 21 forever. Yeah, you lit now. You 21, 22, you popping. The day is going to come when you're going to be celebrating 30. The day is going to come when you're celebrating 40, 50, 60. Yeah. Now what? You know, so for the OGs, listen to the youth, listen to the kids. Don't try to be them. And I think a great example of someone not trying to be them is the new Common and Pete Rock album. I think that's a great example of feeding your core. Knowing hip hop is 50 years old now, so you got hip hop fans that are 60, maybe even 70 years old, and making an album that they can love and respect and rock out to while still feeding a 40-something-year-old, a 30-something-year-old, but not worrying about a 20-something-year-old.
Yeah, staying in your lane. Staying in your lane.
Yeah, not one. A lot of these guys, they say, yo, I'm going to try to make a joint to get with these 25-year-olds. Why? When you could be their parent. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, why? When you could be a grandparent to their kid, you know? So I think that album is a great representation of that. So not trying to be these kids, not trying to be them, and knowing that the game is different. Like there was a time, and I'm not saying this from experience because I never had no major record deal, but I'm saying it from being a knowledgeable individual, hearing the stories, doing the math, reading, learning about it, and knowing people who was in these positions. There was a time where you could just, get $1 million checks for nothing, and you could be in the studio running up
Absolutely, bro.
budgets, and you
Yo,
could literally do tours and say, yo, I have to bring 30 people or I'm not going. And they would do it.
crazy.
Those days are long gone.
Long gone.
And if you want to still have a career and be successful as an OG, be cool with taking you and two other people to Europe
Yeah.
at most. You know
At
what I mean?
most.
Be cool
At
with
most.
be cool with doing a bunch of shows where the capacity is 500 as opposed to 5,000. But you could do
Exactly.
one 5,000 show, or you could do 2,500 shows and bang out merch at every show and get all these other opportunities through them and really put the work in and grind and move
Yeah, bro.
and really be out there. Like, don't sit there and feel so entitled because of what you did in '93.
Oh my God,
Like
man. The
I,
entitlement is crazy.
yeah, like I would say that would be the biggest thing. And
The
the
entitlement
OGs
is crazy, bro.
and the OGs who have figured that out, the Master Aces and them, those are the ones winning.
Yeah.
Winning. Ace is
Yeah.
winning because he knows all
Absolutely.
that. He was
He
never
knows.
some entitled dude. Like he knows, yo, this is the game. This is how you play it now.
Absolutely.
There's a 3-point line now. Back in the day, it wasn't no 3-point line. Now there's a 3-point line. You know what I mean? We used to be able to hand check. Now we can't hand check no more. We gotta foul
You
different.
got to adapt. You got to adapt.
You gotta adapt, baby. You know how the game go now. You gonna play that game different if you still want to be in the NBA.
Yeah, man.
And I think Ace is an excellent example of somebody who gets that. So if you can move like that, man, you'll be all right. That would be my advice, if anything, to OGs.
Word.
I mean, who am I to give an OG advice? But that would be my
No, I mean, some
words
need
of
it, bro.
wisdom.
Like I said, the entitlement part, man.
Yeah.
The entitlement part is crazy. But,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
I
They
did
did
this
what they
in
did.
92, 93, so I should get this in 2024.
Yeah.
Nah, that's a different type of time, man.
And I mean, we respect it. We respect it, and we
100%.
love it. We look up to you. You are our
Right.
mentors, are the people that we want to be, man. But sometimes you got
as a show promoter, if you got a show promoter or somebody putting a tour together, they can't sell that. Like they can sell the fact that you did all that work and that's what's going to bring heads out. But that's not going to justify them charging $100 a ticket because you want to bring 30 people with you and you want the suite and you want all the rooms covered and you want the van and you want first class.
Crazy.
It's not happening. You're not going to tour.
Nah, not at all.
You may get
not
one festival a year. You may get Roots Picnic once a year, if that, and that's it. Like it ain't happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yo, man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you coming on, for my inaugural, the first one,
Yeah.
the Escapism Podcast.
Love it.
I wouldn't have it any other way, bro. You my brother, you're my family. I love you.
Absolutely.
We've been through a lot together. We're still doing what we do.
Yeah.
Like I said, coming December, we out there for a month again.
You know
what I'm saying? It's always a pleasure to be around you, around your family. Yo, I can't thank you enough for coming on, bro, and sharing your knowledge and just chopping it up with me, man. So thank you, bro.
Man, I told you anytime, bro. Love you too, man. You family, you my brother. Anytime, and whatever you need, I'm proud of you. I'm excited for you.
Appreciate you,
stepping
man.
out. I know your personality, and you have a podcast personality, but I don't think you knew that.
Nah,
you know what I
man.
mean? And,
hey, man.
and I'm glad you're seeing it now. I think in your mind you'd be like, I'm in the cut. I'm laid back. I ain't trying to be on nobody camera.
Yo, that's why I'm a producer, man. I'm a basement dweller, bro.
But you're somebody who's so knowledgeable on so many things, and you love to speak on it and put that out, and you love to. You're not in the cut. You're not. You're not afraid of the light in the moment, and the fact that you're putting that out there with your podcast, I think is incredible. All the other branding things that you got coming up and the great things you got going on that the people are gonna learn about soon. It's beautiful, man. Fresh water all day, you know what I mean?
Appreciate you, man. Absolutely, bro.
Man. It's beautiful. Word up.
Yo, let everybody know where they can find you, man.
Oh man, Instagram at Skyzoo the writer, Twitter at Skyzoo. I'm never calling it X, it's Twitter. We don't call it Happy Meal a kids meal. It's a Happy Meal. You know what I mean? That's the I get people be asking.
Yo, I will always say Twitter, bro. Always.
Yo, I'm never gonna call a Happy Meal a children's meal.
Nah,
it's
bro.
a Happy Meal, straight up. You can change the name all you want. Yo, that's a Happy Meal. So Twitter at Skyzoo.
Absolutely.
you know, and I'm very easy to get with and to reach and build with and all that. And,
Word.
you know, new music on the way, you know, keep me company, hopefully before the year is over.
Nice.
And more and more next year, and we're just keeping it going.
Dope, man. Yo, I appreciate you again, man. We'll talk
Yeah.
very, very soon, man. And
Yeah.
yo, have a good night, bro.
You know it, brother. Much
All right,
love.
man. Peace.